Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Vidya. Good morning, Rintu.
Hi, good morning. Didn't we Shilpa joining? Let me just check.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning,
Hi,
Shilpa.
good morning, Shilpa.
I just saw the message today again. We don't have to speak, right?
Yeah, today there is no session for us trainers. It will be done by Access team only.
So we just have to listen.
Yes.
So day three ka deck again is they'll only use.
Yeah, they'll only use.
Your session was very good, Shashwati and Vidya. I saw it yesterday. There were so many questions, but you guys were handling it on time. People were like pouring in, ye bata do, wo bata do, but you handled it.
New participants, now plus the batch size is really huge now when we take a merge session.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the Forex card quiz. So this is what it is. Forex card. We have Axis Bank again provides a range of Forex cards for their customers. And Forex cards are basically, it's like a travel card. It's like a debit card that can be used, prepaid card. You load it for the currency of your choice. And today, a lot of our priority customers are customers who frequently travel overseas. And that is the reason this becomes an easy cross sell item. They any which ways require foreign exchange for their foreign travel. And if they use our Forex card, then an RM can make that cross-sell revenue. RFR is one of the important parameters of his KRA, and the only way he can achieve those parameters of RFR is either he does identifies remittance inward or outward, or sells Forex card. So that is what it is. However, because it's Forex card, it comes under the regulation of the Foreign Exchange Act, the FEMA regulations of 1999, and there are limits to the kind of forex that is being availed by the customer. So under the liberalized remittance scheme, there is a limit of 250,000 US dollars per financial year. But depending upon the kind of travel that the customer is initiating, these travel limits will vary. So that is what we have as an introduction for the Forex card. It is very easy for the customer to avail of a Forex card, be it in terms of documentation, be it in terms of getting the Forex card on hand. And the customer can control the price at which the Forex card is being purchased. So there are Forex card, foreign exchanges subject to a lot of currency fluctuations, and customers are constantly comparing rates with whenever they are availing foreign exchange, and even a marginal difference in rates can lead to the customer approaching a competition bank. So we would want to be mindful that try and route all our customers foreign exchange transactions through Axis Bank, because we can offer them preferential pricing, and that is what we would want to suggest. So speak to the customers, figure out which of the customers require foreign exchange, and then position the forex card to them for their use. So this is what we would want to talk about. Forex card, like any ordinary debit card, can be used as an ATM for a cash withdrawal, or for that matter, they can do it as a POS transaction. So opportunities there as well, convenience there as well in terms of how they use a forex card and all. So this is what forex card is all about. Today the customer has an easy alternative rather than carrying hard cash with him, which also brings up a safety issue here. Credit card, debit cards, our customers are so used to handling cards, so it becomes very easy for the customer to use the forex card. You can load it in multiple currencies, and that is what we will be seeing, the different variants of forex cards and how the customer can avail of the same. The conversion charge is also not available, not applicable, because you are choosing the foreign exchange that you need to load on your card, and you decide the rate at which the foreign exchange gets loaded on the card. And at any point in time, when he uses the forex card overseas, because it's in the current currency that has already been preloaded into the card, the customer doesn't have to pay the currency charges or the conversion charges that otherwise would get applicable. So here, where are the opportunities for using Forex card? At merchant outlets while he's doing transactions, at ATMs, at online transactions. So all the customer needs to do is protect and safeguard his Forex card. As he would safeguard his debit card and credit card, we would want the customer to be careful while he's using the Forex card. Make sure that he doesn't, he takes care of the card, doesn't share PIN, and those are the basic instructions that you would want to share with your customer. At the same time, you would also want to make sure that you advise the customer for all the transactions that he does overseas, especially the merchant outlet, the POS transactions, and so on. We would want him to preserve the charge slip, the transaction slip, because what happens is tomorrow, if there's a dispute, that slip becomes very handy, because we need to reach out to the concerned merchant outlet there and then get that dispute resolved. So any kind of forex customer, when he is doing or transacting overseas, having that transaction slip or the copy of the invoice becomes very, very handy, just as a reference point, so that at any point in time, if you need it further down the line, this can be effectively used by the customer. So that becomes easy for the customer. International ATMs, like I said, the card, like a debit card, will come. You will have to set a PIN for your Forex card, and using the PIN, you'll be able to draw cash. Online transactions for shopping, purchase on your e-commerce sites, you will be able to do those transactions as well. So like you use your normal debit card, the same functionalities are applicable in your Forex card as well. In terms of the variants of Forex card, there are a few variants that we would want to discuss, starting with the Club Vistara Forex card. And here again, we would want to remind the customer that as a part of the priority proposition, this is a Vistara Forex card is offered complimentary to our priority customers. And this is something that they would need, because these are people who are traveling. So today, it's a membership with the Vistara group. So today, whatever transactions he does on the Club Vistara Forex card, he's also getting points on the Club Vistara points, and that is what we would want him to recommend. The more actively he uses the Club Vistara Forex card, more is the points that he stands to make. So today, when the customer avails of a Forex card, the Club Vistara Forex card, immediately he gets 500 welcome points as Club Vistara points given to him, and 3 Club Vistara points on every $5 that he spends on a POS terminal. So those are the welcome benefits. Otherwise, Club Vistara Forex card costs 500 plus GST. It's a hassle-free way of doing your foreign exchange transactions. Today, at any point in time, if the customer wants to load multiple currencies on the Club Vistara Forex card, that opportunity is also available. 16 currencies available to be loaded. It is a contactless card, and obviously, when you are loading foreign currencies, it is at the price that you choose. So, a convenient, hassle-free way to make your foreign exchange payments and convenient to carry and so on. There are some edge reward points as well linked to your Club Vistara Forex card. So here the customer gets 250 points every time they load or reload their card. And this loading can happen through the internet banking or the mobile banking features. Similarly, for every $5 spent, the customer gets an additional 2 edge reward points. So not only does he's getting earning on the loading or the reloading that he does on the Forex card, but every time he spends, he's also getting a $5 equivalent point as edge reward points. Like your debit cards, the Club Vistara Forex cards can also be personalized with the picture. So any kind of personalization if required, that also can be opted by the customer. So this is the beauty of the Club Vistara Forex card. Easy balance tracking is available. So whatever is the balance that you have can be tracked through internet banking, mobile banking, and so on. We have another Forex card, which is the multi-currency Forex card. Features more or less remaining the same. 16 currencies available, insurance cover of 3 lakh available. Here again, it is available in Master and Visa platforms. So that is the multi-currency Forex card. Details with respect to how to use the card more or less remains the same. The loyalty points here is 250 points every time they load and reload their card and $5 equivalent for the customer to get 2 edge reward points. Personalization available on the multi-currency Forex card as well. We have the Miles and More Forex card. However, this is a MasterCard Forex card. So this is a card that is lined up with your World Traveler Forex card, and it helps you participate in the Lufthansa Miles and More membership program. So today, a lot of travelers want to accumulate the miles, and this is one such card that helps you accumulate miles. So it's a perfect, way to accumulate miles while you are traveling as well, and this helps you on the Lufthansa miles platform. So how we have a tie-up with Vistara, similarly this is a tie-up with the Lufthansa miles and more membership program. It is a MasterCard platform, and again 16 currencies can be loaded on top on the miles and more Forex card. The reward points and personalization applicable here as well. And the customer gets 5 miles for every $5 spent on the POS terminal. 500 plus GST is the cost for availing of this particular card. The Diners Forex card is a Discover card, and here it is only in US dollars. So if a customer wants a dollar card, this is a card that we can offer over and above the other multi-currency Forex card that the customer wants. And this again is a part of the Diners. Sorry?
Vidya, I think this Diners card, we can quit this thing because Diners are banned in India. I think it's an old slide that you're showing.
Has there been a revision? Okay. All right.
It's been an RBI mandate 2 years back.
Okay. तो ये डिलीट करना है क्या अपने फॉरेक्स में से निकाल दूं?
हाँ, एक बारी आप अभिषेक से वापस कंफर्म कर लो, but as far as I know is that Diners they have not shifted their servers into India, and RBI had told them to stop issuing any more cards.
Okay.
It's about 1.5 18 months old story.
नवंबर के स्लाइड्स हैं ये अपने, तभी भी ये
हाँ,
था.
एक बारी चेक करा लो.
ठीक है, मैं चेक करा लेते हैं. Okay.
एक बारी चेक करा लो. I think Shashwati has a question. She's raised her hand quite some time.
Go ahead, Shashwati.
Yeah, what I wanted to know was, number one is that the Forex Vistara card is written over there that there is a 500 rupees cost to it. So while we are talking about a complimentary, are we talking about a complimentary card, or are we talking that the customer needs to pay this 500 plus GST for the Club
The cost
Vistara
that
card?
is applicable is for all the customers. But the Club Vistara Forex card is applicable free for our customers, no?
Yeah, but on the
as a part
slide
of the
it
priority
says,
proposition. Yeah,
yeah,
so
but on
we
the
are also
slide.
mentioning the cost which otherwise the customer has to bear.
Okay, so for a priority customer, it is free.
Yes, and the same you would
Okay.
have seen even in the credit cards, while you have a privileged credit card that is being offered free for our customers, it is chargeable. And the pricing is mentioned there, even on credit cards. So the cost
Okay.
is what the regular customers would end up
Okay.
paying
And
for
then,
availing of
okay.
these cards.
Yeah. And the next one is in the multi-currency Forex card, there is an insurance coverage up to 1 lakh. And so is there in this. Okay, Dinah's not there. There is no such insurance coverage in the Vistara card.
Not that we know of. This is what we have with us.
Okay. I mean, I'm just wondering, why would a customer, other than the Vistara club membership, why would someone opt for the Vistara and not this multi-currency Forex card? Except that because here they're getting an insurance coverage, which they're not getting there. They're getting this Vistara miles only because everything else remains the same.
Yes.
So I was just wondering, I mean, why, when we're talking to the priority customers, are we not talking about this multi-currency Forex card? And we're
So we
talking
can
only
talk
about
about the
Vistara.
multi-currency Forex card also, no? I mean, these are the offerings that we have, and each of these cards have their own inbuilt
Yeah,
feature.
but when we're pitching the priority proposition, it talks only, like yesterday when we did the slides, we only
Correct.
talked about the Vistara Forex card. We didn't mention this Forex card at all.
Because that is what has been highlighted to be spoken. Like I said, the priority proposition talks about a complementary card. Here, the multi-currency Forex card, the customer needs to pay. So maybe that is one way we can position it. A complimentary card vis-a-vis
Yeah,
a
but
paid
there's an
card.
insurance coverage of 3 lakhs. And this is when we're talking of insurance coverage, what insurance are we talking about? Travel insurance, which includes what? Any specific? Is there anything specific about this insurance coverage of 3 lakhs? What is insurance that is being covered here?
I think it must be the normal travel insurance. Not sure.
If you could let us know, it'll be great. But they'll be taking the session, of course, but because in a travel insurance, usually health insurance is also covered. When when we are traveling and we take insurance, travel insurance, it covers loss of passport, loss of luggage. Also, medical insurance is covered in that. So, would love to know the details, if any.
Let me check if I have any write-up on the same. So no, nothing mentioned, at least on the notes here. So here, the insurance features, yes, there is some information on the insurance features. Let me see if it is coming up in the slides that are here. Give me a minute. insurance features are being covered. So what it says here is it protects the forest card from loss, theft, or counterfeiting of the card. Insurance cover is provided up to 3 lakhs. We offer personal air accident cover, loss of passport, travel documents, missing of connecting international flights during transit, plane hijacking, medical emergency assistance, and purchase protection cover on the Axis Bank Forex card. Give me a minute, I'll just display the slide for all of you.
So Vidya is just going through Google. So RBI has lifted the ban on diners.
Okay.
So it is a
Are we
go
able to
area.
see this? Yeah. Okay. So this is what we have as a part of the insurance details.
See here, what is surprising is it says emergency medical assistance and in bracket only in India. I mean, you're using the Forex card abroad. How are you going to provide emergency medical assistance in India? Can't understand. Also, there's this purchase protection cover. In fact, it was there yesterday also, and this girl, Indu Singh, she raised this query of purchase protection cover against theft, it was written. And she was asking that in case there is any fraud or anything covered on an online transaction, will that be covered? Similarly, here, purchase protection cover on Axis Bank card.
So purchase protection cover would be a protection on the if there's any issue with respect to the purchases that you do, right? So if an online purchase has been wrongly, there's been a wrong transaction on your card, that is the limit. The cover would be limited to that particular claim only, right?
So in case there is any fraud or anything on the card, an online fraud on the card, or
that would be the purchase protection cover that the customer can report it to.
yeah, that means that would also be applicable on the priority debit card also, like it would cover both online purchases or
Correct.
suppose
On the card,
suppose
using the card,
yeah.
if there's anything that has gone wrong without the consent of the customer, then that would come under the purchase protection cover.
But this emergency medical assistance only in India. I mean, how on a Forex card is that possible? Can't understand this. Any thoughts on that, Vivek or Vidya? When the Access trainers are taking sessions, are we allowed to ask any questions?
There's no harm in asking questions as of now. I
Where
don't
did you
think
read
any.
this line that you are speaking
Third
about
line.
in India?
Third line.
Oh, okay, in the brackets, only in India.
Yeah, I mean, the Forex card is used abroad. So how is it that emergency medical assistance can be given in India?
Probably they're talking about when plane is hijacked, the emergency medical assistance is only in India.
Now, here again, if you see the second over there again, that same paragraph, it says, ATM assault and robbery, we provide cover up to INR 60,000, including the expense incurred towards medical treatment. So that is Very funny. This is very confusing. Is that over and above that 3 lakhs? Included in that 3 lakhs? And ATM assault would be only when we are operating it abroad, right? But I don't know, pretty confusing this part is. Maybe we can check with them, Vidya. We can proceed and we could check with them, please. It's
Okay.
possible. Yeah.
Share the slide. Is the slide visible?
Not yet.
Just a minute. Let me know now. Yeah. We were talking about diners. Moving on, some benefits on the Forex card. So these are the key benefits that are highlighted: free ATM waivers and 15 paisa rate betterment for priority customers. And this increases to a 30 paisa benefit if the customer does it through the mobile banking or internet banking channels. Available in 16 currencies, easily track your balances, can look at the transactions. The customer has complete control over the transactions that he does, has control over the amount that he has loaded, when he wants to load, when he wants to encash, and as long as the, because it's a foreign exchange, as long as the permissible limits in terms of the foreign exchange guidelines are managed and adhered to, the customer can use these Forex cards without any kind of issues. Valid again has a validity of 5 years. And during the course of the time, the customer can keep using the card. Like I said, multi-currency Forex cards are what are being offered by Axis Bank across currencies. So that is something that the customer can use for their benefit. We also have some security features. If I can move ahead. So here the lost card liability is there, 24-hour customer support is there. So there are these toll-free numbers which the customer can reach out to. Alternatively, the customer can reach out to the RM, and the RM in turn can facilitate it in case if the customer is facing any issues with respect to transacting, or if he's stuck somewhere. So those kind of help and assistance is available. For the amount that is loaded in the Forex card, he will be able to do that. So it is important for the customer to realize that he needs to have an adequate amount that is loaded in the Forex card to do transactions overseas. And in case if he finds that he's running short, he can easily reload the cards as well using the internet banking and mobile banking platforms as well. Now, some security features that we would want to talk about, that it is
Vidya?
extremely,
Vidya,
yeah.
in the early slide, could you just explain that for foreign nationals and NRIs also, I could see that the card can be issued?
Yeah, so the foreign national will have to give the income proof, like the Indians will have to fill up the form for applying for the card. Similarly, for a foreign national to avail a Forex card, he will have to submit the proof. The income proof. The income proof, possibly this is a foreign national who is staying in India, so he'll have to show that documentary proof to avail of the Forex card. So any kind of foreign exchange as part of FEMA also, if the customer needs to avail of foreign exchange, he can take foreign exchange only to the amount of income that he's earning in India. So only that, those are the FEMA guidelines with respect to foreign national availing foreign exchange in India.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So the security features here, pin-based security system for your cash withdrawals, chip and base, additional features in terms of security. So it's not just a pin-based card and pin, but there's also a chip and pin that has been enabled for your Forex cards. You also have options in terms of what kind of cards that you want to purchase, whether it's a Mastercard platform, whether you wanted a Visa platform. So those options, alternatives available. In terms of the tie-ups, you have opportunities there as well. All transactions, we have real-time fraud monitoring also. So at any point in time, the customer, all he needs to do is he can block the card in case if there's a fraudulent use of the card. The customer can immediately block the cards using the internet banking, mobile banking, or alternatively calling up the call center. So those kind of benefits are also there, and the amount that is there on the card can be safeguarded, the amount that has been loaded onto the card. The customer can again unblock the card as per his choice. So those block, unblock features are available for the customer. For every transaction that he does, he's also getting alerts like he would get for his routine transactions here if he does on a debit card. So real-time alerts and statements can be availed by the customer as well. We also have the documentation that is available on the Forex card. So very simple, easy documentation for the customer to go in for. PAN is required because most of the transactions would be more than 50,000 and above. So PAN becomes mandatory. Passport, visa becomes important because you would want to make sure that the customer is availing the ticket because he's traveling. So all those documentary requirement in terms of his proof of travel, the visa would be required for us to issue a Forex card to the customer. And for minors who are below 18, we would require them to provide the education or leisure purpose basis, the parents' PAN. So these are additional features because a lot of these customers will have children who are going overseas for possibly education or for that matter travel. So we would want to have a minor declaration as well on the Forex card document. So if you see in a matter of 3-4 documents, the customer can avail of a card, fix the exchange price on the card that is getting loaded, and take it on the spot. So it's an over-the-counter transaction for the customer. And once a card gets issued, it just has a validity of 5 years and can be reloaded multiple times or for that matter, encashed by the customer as and when he wants. The reload process in terms of the physical process also is equally simple. All you need to do is fill up a reload application form, produce your passport and ticket, and we will be able to do that. The reload, or for that matter, the encashment also. The customer just needs to sign off the encashment form and submit it at the branch, and he will be able to encash the balance that is lying in the Forex card. So depending upon the requirement, the customer can choose an issuance, reload, or for that matter, the encashment as well. A few details in terms of encashment loading is what is highlighted here. Today, it is important that the customer encashes the balance on the Forex card. The full encashment is not possible. We hold back for 10 days a minimum balance on the card, and that is what we are talking about here. Today, at any point in time, US dollars 100 are held back on the Forex card. If he immediately comes back and wants to encash, till about 10 days, we will not be able to do a full encashment. We will hold back up to US dollars 100. This is to avoid any kind of disputes that might arise on the Forex card and so on. Post 10 days of coming back to India, he can encash the full amount. That is one. Second, whenever he wants, he can also hold the balances in the Forex card. So today, if I've come back from a trip and I don't want to encash it immediately, then the balance on the card can be maintained for a future trip. And that is what we are saying, up to 6 months. Ideally, the customer also has the choice of holding the balances that are there in the Forex card. In case the card has expired, the customer can apply for a replacement card and have the amount encashed on the same as well. So irrespective of how the card is loaded, the customer has options even at types of encashment. However, certain norms are there which needs to be followed. And again, as per the choice of the rate of the customer decide, that is the time when the encashment can be done. Yeah. A little bit on the encashment process. So here again, that is what we are saying. At any point in time, only up to a maximum of US $2,000 can be held back by the customer for the future trips abroad. Otherwise, it is advised that the customer gets the balance on the card encashed. The chargeback process is also available, and chargeback is basically in case if there's a dispute, if there's a claim, if there's an issue with the transaction that the customer has done overseas, he would need to file a request with us, giving us the details of what is the issue that the customer faced, so that he can obtain a refund, or so that he can obtain, the disputed amount that has happened. But for that, like I said, the customer is advised to maintain these transaction or the invoice copies or the charge slip or the transaction slip that has happened, so that it becomes easier to settle. It takes a little bit long because we might have to reach out to the concerned merchant or outlet and then settle the claim. So, but the same is possible, and we can go ahead and forward those kind of requests for our customers as well. So that is the point that we have to say when it comes to disputes on their overseas transactions. There are certain limits that are there applicable depending upon the currency, and those are the limits that has been specified. It is always advisable for the customer to go in for the currency where he's traveling to, because cross currency again otherwise would attract charges. So as long as if he's going to the US, let him load dollars and so on and so forth, so that the cross currency impact or does not come in way of his forex transactions. So here ATM withdrawals are possible on your card for the amount that is loaded, obviously, and the same applies for your POS transactions as well. So depending upon the currency, those are the specified limits. The customer may come across certain prompts at merchant outlets, or for that matter, while doing your ATM withdrawals, which talks about a dynamic currency conversion. So today, when you're using a card overseas and you receive a prompt that do you want to go in for a dynamic currency conversion, the customer is always requested to use the option no, because this is a card that has been loaded for the local currency overseas. The customer does not need to go in for any kind of further dynamic currency conversion. And that is what we are highlighting here, that whenever the system prompts, be it at a POS terminal or at an ATM machine for currency conversion, the customer is requested to choose the option no, so that the customer is not unnecessarily charge for any kind of conversion. And that is what we are talking about here. When the customer is in an ATM and the ATM prompts, do you want currency conversion or accept without currency conversion? The customer should always choose the option accept without currency conversion. And here again, the logic being you would have loaded the required foreign exchange for that particular location. And that's why you are opting for without currency conversion. The same if it's an ATM and the ATM is prompting convert to home currency, the customer is requested to choose the option no, obviously if he has loaded the Forex card with the concerned home currency. The same applies for a merchant as well. So anytime he's using the card at an outlet, at a merchant outlet, and the merchant asks the customer, does he want to go in for a currency conversion? The customer should advise the merchant to choose no. The insurance features, like we talked about earlier, the air accident, loss of passport, travel documents, so on, are available. Up to 3 lakhs is the insurance cover that the customer has. At any point in time, the customer needs to report if there is an issue and he wants to claim insurance for the same. And here there are the timelines for the period of coverage. So 38 days pre-reporting and post-reporting 3 days is the timelines within which the card's insurance feature will work. So important for the customer to immediately lodge a complaint or highlight that there has been an untoward or a fraudulent transaction that has happened on his card so that the due insurance process can be settled. It is important for the customer to also lodge an FIR for an ATM assault or a robbery claim. And here again, 60,000 would be the cover that would be available for the customer. What the customer needs to do is over and above the ATM, the FIR on the ATM assault and robbery, he also needs to write into us and give us the details of asking for the insurance claim. And this has to happen within 3 days of the transaction or, the customer coming to know of the fraudulent transaction, because the insurance covers, that is the insurance cover, 38 days and 3 days post reporting is what is highlighted here. So customer also needs to block the card. So these are the added information that needs to be shared with the customer so that the customer also gets the benefit of insurance at any point in time if things go wrong. The process is highlighted here. Document claim process can be available at accesscom.support, and information on Forex FAQs are available on the link there. For toll-free number, the number has been highlighted there. So this again is information that is to be shared with the customer. Now, for our priority customers, these are the charges that would be applicable. Like we discussed, the issuance fees is nil, the reload charges are nil, encashment charges are nil, pin change, no extra cost, balance inquiry will not incur any cost. However, there are certain charges that are applicable for cash withdrawal, balance inquiry in international locations, and that is what they have highlighted here. The cash withdrawals, first 3 transactions would be free. Post that, the customer ends up paying $2.25 US equivalent. For balance inquiry, he ends up shelling out $0.5 US equivalent plus GST. Cash advance transaction fee is 0.5% of the transaction amount. Charge slip retrieval will cost him $3 plus equivalent. And that's why we say that, it's always advisable to preserve your charge slips. Inactivity fees, $5 plus equivalent. Again, we would want the customer to make sure that he's aware of these charges so that he doesn't, he uses the Forex card properly and doesn't bear any kind of charges. Cross currency is 3.5% plus GST. So at any point in time, ask the customer, since we have a variety of currencies that can be loaded onto the same card, the customer can take advantage of the same and load the currency of his choice on the card before his foreign travel. So those are a little bit in terms of the charges that the customer ends up paying for the usage of his Forex card. A little bit a recap on the things that we discussed, be it the cash withdrawal charges or the balance inquiry charges, so on and so forth. Inactivity fees would be levied if the card is not issued or if not used for a period of 36 months. So that again is something that we can bear in mind. We also
Vidya,
have the, go
Vidya,
ahead.
just the last slide, please.
Yes.
This charge slip retrieval charge, if we are
Yeah.
taking a charge slip, there is going to be a charge. I don't think we should advise our customers then to take slips. See? Charge for getting a
Sorry.
transaction slip at an ATM.
Huh?
That is what. No, you were saying there that we should advise our customers to retain their charge slips. But every time we are actually requesting for a charge slip at the ATM, there is a charge of that $3. So I don't think it'll be advisable really for getting a transaction slip.
But the any which way is the charge slip we will have to retrieve at the time if he doesn't have anything to show for the transaction.
But see, he's going to end up paying $3. I mean, if you go to the earlier slide, we could just go to the.
This is for an ATM, right? This is for a cash withdrawal transaction.
Yeah. So
what we are recommending is the POS transaction.
No, but there could be a dispute at the ATM also. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, since we were
Any which
talking
ways, any kind of charge slip will incur a cost to the customer. Right?
Yeah.
If today or if not later. Yeah. So a choice is up to the customer.
Yeah,
Primarily, what we were referring is primarily what we are referring is if you're doing a transaction overseas, a chart slip, maintaining the chart slip makes sense for a purchase transaction that he might have. But otherwise, in case if the customer doesn't want, that is again as per his choice.
Yeah, because yeah, actually, we need to tell them about this charges. There are charges for withdrawing the slip. That's what I was
Yes,
saying. Yeah. And could you also tell me what is the validity of this Forex card?
5 years.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So we are also providing trip assist services. So today, at any point in time, if the customer gets stuck somewhere and he is in need of any kind of assistance, that is what our conciergerie services provide us with. At any point in time, a Forex card customer, if he needs any kind of emergency cash delivery, or if he has lost his card and requires a replacement card, or wants help in blocking the card. So you have a call center, you have the number wherein you can call up and request for these trip assist services. Here again, the services would be depending upon the balance that is seen in that card at that point in time. So the maximum that they can help the trip assist services would be $2,000, and the customer can, the immediate assistance that is required in terms of maybe availing some kind of an emergency cash, or maybe there's some loss of passport or luggage, as the case may be, can be helped by the conciergerie. So this is again a handy feature because they are overseas, they don't have access branches, they don't have their relationship managers, they're in a completely foreign country and they don't know whom to reach out to or whom to assist. So this is where the trip assist services can come very handy. All they need to do is make that call, and that's why before their foreign travel they need to have those numbers upfront, so that this would be the number that they can reach out to for any kind of assistance. So this is again information that would be coming in handy for our travelers. Some do's and don'ts on the Forex card. Again, very, very general do's and don'ts, so to say. First and foremost, have that numbers handy, the customer care numbers that will really help them. Otherwise, how they preserve their cards is similar to how they would use the debit cards or the credit cards here. Be safe, practice safe banking, and at the same time, if there's any issue, reach out to the customer care number, reach out to the relationship manager, and we will be able to assist. At any point in time, if there is any assault or any kind of theft, we would want them to be reported. We would want them to be proactive in terms of blocking their cards so that they can preserve the balances that have been loaded onto their Forex card. The don'ts, so to say, again, quite simple. Don't leave your card unattended. Don't share your pins. Use your card in India, Nepal, Bhutan. These are Forex cards. So please use your cards effectively. Don't use it for unauthorized transactions or fraudulent transactions, so to say. And at any point in time, if there is a prompt from the machine or the POS terminal about currency conversion, avoid selecting that because you would have loaded the card for the concerned foreign exchange. So this is the little bit information that we have in terms of the Forex card. Do we move to remittances? Shilpa, Shashwati?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay with me.
Okay with me as well.
Yeah. So this is the outward remittance. Like we find all our customers are actively doing foreign exchange transactions as well. Most of them travel overseas. Most of them might have business dealings. Most of them might have children studying overseas. So a lot of reasons why a customer might want to do an outward remittance. And if it's an outward remittance is a requirement of our customer, we facilitate that as well. Comprehensive rates is what we would want to highlight here again for our priority customers. The customers can opt again how they want to do outward remittances. So a lot of options here as well for the customer to do the outward remittance. Here again, through the online mode, the customer would have a better, in terms of pricing, the outward remittance pricing is better through the digital medium. Similarly, it's faster and quicker. and less prone to errors, so to say, unlike the physical way of doing the outward remittance. He has the branch channel, he has the digital channels, and it is the RM's responsibility to guide the customer to use more of digital channels for faster and smoother outward remittances. So here, when we talk about outward remittances, the customer can use the wire transfer, which has been the go-to mode for outward remittances for a long, long time. But that is changing now. We are also moving on to internet banking, and that is what we would want to promote. The charges for wire transfers are substantially higher as compared to the charges that the customer ends up doing through internet banking. So we would want the customer to have a better experience when it comes to doing outward remittances. So the paper filling process completely taken away when you are doing a transaction through internet banking. Here again, if the customer wants to do outward remittances, that is possible both through the branch and the internet banking channel. However, if he does it through the branch, the customer has an option of only doing remittances in 16 currencies. Whereas if he does it through internet banking, he has an option of 100 plus currencies. So that's the currency advantage in terms of the type of currencies in which the remittance can be done, which the customer has. And over and above that, the smoother process, because the documentation he doesn't have to repeat every time he does a remittance transaction physically, as against what he is doing it through the internet banking platform. The FEMA rules and guidelines in terms of the limits would still apply. 250,000 US dollars, and the remittance categories in which the remittance can be done. So as long as those are adhered to, it's a very simple process for outward remittance as well. A lot of our customers might also come across situations where they are requesting for foreign currency demand drafts, and this primarily happens especially when we have students going abroad for education, and that these could be demanded by the universities, or for that matter, if someone is going abroad for treatment and they might want to pay their medical fees and so on. So if that is the requirement, the foreign currency demand drafts are also available. However, these are available only in 9 currencies. So at any point in time, if your priority customer has a request for a foreign currency demand draft, those can be also adhered to and given to the customer uh, by way of a foreign currency demand draft. Some benefits for the customer in terms of a comparison between doing remittances via branch channel and the
Vidya,
internet banking channel. Yeah.
just in the earlier slide,
Huh.
do we need to explain these key terms and definitions to the participants?
What key terms are those?
See what are the different
The
types of rates,
IBR, the
nostro
card
accounts?
rate.
Yeah, do we need to explain it to the participants? Because this will
You
take
can.
time otherwise.
You can. If the
Okay.
if the participant is not clear about any particular term, you can definitely clear it up for them.
Okay. I mean, it's a
Only if we
choice,
have,
or don't we
yeah,
have to explain it? Or is
yeah.
it a
So
choice do we have?
You can explain it. The card rate, the buying rate, the selling rate. How are they different from each other? You can definitely go ahead and explain these rates to them. So the card rate and the buying rate, the selling rate gets changed on a daily basis. They would need to be very, very careful in terms of the rates they are quoting to the customer, because that is what is deciding the customer's choice whether he wants to avail of a foreign exchange from Axis Bank or not. So we can definitely share the difference between the interbank rate, the card rate, the TT buying rate, the TT selling rate. Today, if there's a customer that is doing a remittance transaction, the customer will have to apply the TT rate. Whereas if the customer is doing a cash transaction, the customer would have to apply the card rates that are applicable. So depending upon the type of transaction the customer is going for, the customer will have to be quoted the right set of rates. And as per the consent of the customer, the transaction can be initiated. While the customer is doing it at the branch, the customer will have the advantage of negotiation. Whereas when it comes to the internet banking platform, whatever is the rate running at that point in time and the preferential pricing that has been built into the transaction, that is what the customer would get. He would not get any kind of uh, additional advantage on the rate. And that is what we would want to highlight here. A branch channel is available for further negotiations, which the customer may generally demand when he is doing or going ahead for a foreign exchange transactions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I move ahead?
Yeah.
So this is the comparison that we would want to talk about, that the customer has the options here of doing transaction either ways. And that is the differential here. He can walk into any branch, give a request, complete the documentation for an outward remittance, or vis-a-vis do it himself through the internet banking channel. For rate approval, the RMs will have to use the PRAS system, which is the preferential rate approval system. The customer will have to the RM will have to make in a request. There is an approval that needs to be sought from the supervisors for any kind of specific additional approval in terms of rate that the customer needs to be given. It is a call that they will have to take. I mean, which of their customers, for what kind of transaction would they want to go in for a betterment of rate. So wherever they feel the relationship is worth it, they can definitely negotiate and reach out to the team for a better rate. However, like I said, since it's a branch channel, the documentation will have to be completed and the approvals in place before they enter the transaction in the system. So those initial work will have to be completed by the by the RM before he puts in the transaction into the system for processing. Obviously, for any kind of paperwork that he does and the system that he uses for asking for a betterment of rate or completing an outward remittance transaction, it is subject to scrutiny from the back end from where the transaction will get processed. So subject to all the documentation being in order and the approvals and everything being available, the transaction gets executed. However, you also need to be mindful that because it's a branch transaction, you will have to be careful making sure that your transactions happen within the timelines of the transaction. So there is that timeline between 9:30 to 3:30 Monday to Friday, within which the transactions will have to be initiated, and these are error-free transactions that need to be initiated. At any point in time, if there is any kind of issue with the documentation, the back office will return it to you for making it right, for solving what the discrepancies are, subsequent to which only the transaction gets initiated. So there's a little bit of timelines that need to be taken care, and there are these things that the customer will have to understand. Alternatively, in the internet banking process, the customer can initiate the transaction, a larger choice in terms of currencies. However, the card rates would be the ones that would be applicable for which the transaction gets initiated. So that is something that the customer will have to realize. So there would not be any kind of negotiation that is available on the internet banking platform. The limits and the details with respect to the purpose and all that will have to be highlighted by the customer in the internet banking platform. And here the transaction time through internet banking again would be 10 to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday for initiating transactions through internet banking. Email IDs also highlighted for any kind of issues that you would want. So you have the email IDs for the support teams as well. Limits in pricing for our priority customers is what is highlighted here. So the limits $250,000 US, the NRO limit again for whatever is the remittance that has sourced from the local income, the customer can remit up to $1 million is the limit that he can remit overseas. Foreign nationals up to the salary that they receive, NRE, FCNR can freely remit whatever is the balances that they have in their respective accounts. For priority customers, the transaction pricing is 500 rupees plus GST for a remittance transaction, and an additional foreign conversion tax would be applicable depending upon the transaction value that they are doing. So these are the pricing that the customer ends up bearing for an outward remittance transaction. So if the amount is less than 1 lakh, it would be 1% of the transaction amount subject to a minimum of 250 plus GST. If it's in the range of 1 to 10 lakhs, the customer ends up bearing 1,000 rupees plus 0.5 on the remaining transaction amount. So 1 lakh will be at 1,000 rupees and 0.5 for the balance amount. Anything greater than 10 lakhs, the customer has to bear 5,500 for 10 lakhs plus 1% on the remaining transaction amount, so on and so forth. So as long as these charges are communicated to the customer, and here again, like I said, any kind of pricing discussions or rate approvals will have to be initiated through the preferential rate approval system, the online rate approval system, and those approvals taken in advance before you actually initiate the transaction. We have a process flow that has been incorporated so that the entire transaction, how it flows from one bucket to the other, is shown here. And that is the outward remittance transaction through branch, be it an NTB customer or for that matter, an ETB customer, an outward remittance transaction can be initiated. So currently the priority customers will be speaking to their customers, checking if there's a possibility for a remittance. And if so, they can proceed with a remittance transaction through the channel. If it's a new customer, they will have to make sure that the customer's ID gets created and subsequently an account, a transaction gets initiated. Otherwise, for an ETB customer, all the customer needs to do is fill up the form, and with the details that are there for the outward remittance, the transaction gets processed. Today, when we talk about an outward remittance transaction through the branch, like we keep reiterating time and again, it is very important for the customer to arrange for a rate confirmation basis which the transaction gets executed. Because once the remittance has been initiated and sent, there's nothing much that we can do. So any kind of challenges, be it in terms of rate, when it needs to be executed, whether the customer is comfortable with the rate, needs to be very clearly identified and spoken to with the customer. Today, the customer's transactions, depending upon the volume of the transaction, the respective application would get used. For example, it can be an forex deal for transactions greater than 10 lakhs. So that is the various modules in which the transaction will get executed in the system. RMs will not have to execute it in the system. You will have the ops team who will be doing it. But this is how it is. At any point in time, if the transaction gets stuck for any kind of documentary issues or gets rejected by backend, then it is imperative that the RM immediately steps in and rectifies whatever the issues are. Because like I said, these are subject to scrutiny by the processing team at the backend. So they will have to ensure that all the documents have been forwarded in the right manner with all the required supporting signatures, sign-offs, approvals, so on and so forth. So that is what we are talking about here, making sure that everything is in proper order for the remittance to be executed through the branch channel. Right, so scanning of documents, making sure that the documents are in place before we put it up to the processing team. At any point in time, like we discussed, if it comes back, the same has to be rectified. We also have a similar process through internet banking. So the outward remittance process through internet banking is what is highlighted here. Here the customer is filling in the details. So he logs into his internet banking platform, fills in all the relevant details that he needs to do the outward remittance transaction from, and confirms the rate. So the customer gets the rate very clearly identified on the platform itself, that at what rate is the transaction getting opted for, and he fills up the details. So as he would do a regular transaction like an RTGS or an NEFT in India, it starts with adding of the beneficiary. So he will have to identify, he will have to have complete details of the beneficiary, including the name, the account number, the bank, so on and so forth, the SWIFT code. All those things will have to be filled in and a beneficiary gets created. Like we see in internet banking, there is a cooling period post which the beneficiary confirmation is complete. Then the customer starts the payment process and he initiates the payment, be it in terms of the currency, so on and so forth, accepts the rates, charges. The transaction is validated through an OTP. And subsequently, once the customer confirms the transaction, the customer's account gets debited and the transaction moves ahead. There is a tracking process available for the customer to figure out when the beneficiary account is getting credited, and real-time alerts are paid to the customer in terms of OTP, in terms of SMS and email facility as well. So these are screen grabs from the internet banking platform on how the customer chooses where the tabs are available for initiating the remittance transaction. And this is what we are talking about here.
Vidya,
Yeah,
what is the cooling period? How many, what is the time frame for the cooling
30
period?
minutes. 30 minutes.
Okay, right. Thank you.
So the details here for every step that we discussed. So here the customer, especially in case of an outward remittance transaction, the customer also has a choice of who will bear the charges of remittance. So outward remittance transactions, if there are charges that are applicable, the customer can choose whether it would be borne by the customer himself or whether it would be shared by the customer. So that is something that we can talk about. So if there is a transaction that needs to happen through a correspondent banker and we have to fill in those details, so then the customer can also choose whether we will be the people who will be bearing the correspondent bank charges or whether the beneficiary will be bearing the correspondent bank charges. So that kind of clarity is also available for the remittance transaction. The customer can also set favorites, and this becomes handy because unlike a branch transaction where the customer has to do the paperwork for every time the customer initiates a remittance transaction, the same is not required in case of a internet banking transaction. Once a beneficiary has been created and let's say a transaction has been done on the internet banking platform and I set it as a favorite, it becomes easier the next time I have to do the transaction on internet banking. For example, if it's a child's fees that I'm paying and I need to pay my child's fees every quarter, every time I do the transaction through the physical mode, a lot of paperwork needs to be done. But whereas if I had done it through the internet banking platform, I can save it and all I need to do is change those amounts and I can take the transaction ahead from there on. So the entire redo of the start to finish process need not be filled in. The basic details have already been captured, which I can then use. So that is again one way of, saving on your times. The status inquiry is also a handy feature because you can at any point in time track when the accounts of your beneficiary get credited. You, in case at any point in time, if you want to have any query or if there's an inquiry that needs to be done, you have the transaction reference number that can help you. So those are the details. You can also have a choice of, going back and viewing those transactions, when it happened, what were the rates at which those transactions happened, so on and so forth. So the inquiry mode facilitates in taking care of all those information requirement that the customer might have. So that also is something that is available through internet banking. Some information on the OCS points that the customer will earn for his remittance transaction. So depending upon the volume of the transaction, the RM will earn the OCS points. Here again, at any point in time, if the customer wants to waive off the processing fees, then that also would be available subject to approvals. So that is what we can share with our customers. So opt for the remittance transactions, check for remittance transactions of your customers so that not only are you, bringing the customer to use our internet banking and Forex transaction through Axis Bank, but we are also earning the OCS points, which helps us meet our KRAs and make better incentives as well. So that is the in terms of the points that the RM earns for the different types of transactions. Documents for different types of transactions. So the purpose code is defined under the FEMA guidelines. So depending upon the purpose code, the limits have been prescribed. And for the transactions that the customer needs to do, those would be the set of documents that we are expecting to be, to be completed by the RM from the customer. So here under family maintenance, you have a limit of 2,50,000. And if you see the list of documents that are required, very, very simple, application form, PAN is all that is required. And you need to disclose which is the close relative for whom's family maintenance you are sending the money abroad. So primarily, we will focus on Axis Bank customers because these are the priority customers and these are the customer accounts that they are managing. So we would want to make sure that they have understanding that, it's a very simple process, not very tedious, as long you understand what needs to be done and how you should proceed with the documentation. So different types of purpose codes have been highlighted for the benefit of the RMs. So you have the maintenance, you have the education, and here again, if there's a situation where I am taking a course from an overseas university or institute, and I have to make some fees towards that, again that is available. So purpose code for that category would be S1107, and here again the balances, the limits, very, very substantial limits. So the LRS itself is giving us a very sizable limit for our transaction. So that is something that we would want to keep in mind. And the documentation for remittance, extremely simple from the point of view of customer transactions as well. So here you have another purpose code for gifts and donations. Simple documentation here, purpose code here changes. So be mindful of quoting the right purpose code for the customer. Yeah.
In education,
Hmm.
if I need more than 250,000 US dollars, do I need to get an approval from RBI or the bank
You
authorized
need
to do
not.
it?
You need not. As long as the college details are supporting the values, that is more than enough.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
And that applies for medical as well. You need to have a documentary evidence that these are what the charges are, and they will be able to do that.
Okay, right, thanks.
So the gifts and donations having a purpose code of S1302. For leisure travel, again, the limits and the documentation. Purpose code is the only change that you see, S0306. For medical treatment as well. So this is what it is, S0304. Travel for education when you're traveling abroad. So that is again. So if you were to see, it's very simple for the branches to execute an outward remittance transaction, and we would want the RMs to reach out to their customers and see if there is a possibility of making sure that we can route the outward remittance transaction for our customer. The only thing is the pricing that we can do, and there again we have the facility of taking approvals and giving a very, very competent price to our customers as well. What we would want them to do is be open for negotiations and reach out to the concerned teams to figure out if something can be worked out specifically for their customers as well. So business travel, again, S0301 is the code, and for NRIs, the code would be S0014. Here again, for both NRO and NRE, the facilities are available. For NREs, the application form and A2 is all that is required. For NRO, we also need a confirmation the required taxes have been paid, which comes in the form of a Form CA and CB, ensuring that the relevant taxes have been paid, post which the remittance has been initiated. So those are some of the things that we can have as information for outward remittance. Do we move to inward remittance?
Sure, sure.
Shilpa? Shilpa, are you there? All right. So let me speak about inward remittances. So how outward remittances, similarly, we can facilitate inward remittances for our customers as well. Again, different choices for the customer to initiate a remittance transaction from overseas. And this is where Axis Bank accounts are the recipient. A lot of our customers may receive remittances from overseas. It could be children staying abroad who are sending money to their families back home, or maybe
Betty, I
business
was there.
transactions. Not a problem. I was just wanting to
When you
check,
started
you
with
know,
inward,
do
I
we
said, "Chalo, abhi bolne deti ho, but this is quite long."
so yeah, this is the inward remittance piece where again we can facilitate and help our customers. So different modes for receiving inward remittances into our Axis Bank accounts. So we also have the Remit Money platform, which is inbuilt by the Axis Bank. So it is a remittance channel for Axis Bank customers through which they can send money to their accounts in India. And this again is not only to the Axis Bank accounts, but this platform can be used even for receiving funds to any bank account in India. But it is a platform, a portal that has been created by Axis Bank, and again comes very handy because unlike the other modes where wire transfers or exchange houses, which generally charge upfront fees and charges and commission for executing a transaction, a limit money platform, because it's an in-house inbuilt transaction, the correspondent fees and charges get completely taken care of. They are not applicable when you're using the in-house platforms for transferring funds. So like we saw in outward remittances, we can use a telegraphic transfer and remit funds to our accounts in India through the use of the SWIFT mechanism and the use of correspondent banks. And obviously, depending upon what is the type of transaction and how many correspondent banks are involved in between, the wire transfers get credited to the customer accounts here. Obviously, charges are higher, and that's why we would say that migrate to the platforms developed by Axis Bank for routing their remittance transactions. However, the Remit Money platform that we talk about does not have a worldwide presence. So that's why maybe at times you might be requiring a wire transfer facility or an exchange house facility to transfer funds to accounts here. We would want to make sure that even for inward remittances, we are very, very competent and we offer competitive pricing on foreign exchange rates. And this is something, again, especially when it comes to bulk remittances or when we are talking about premium customers, we can have a negotiation on the rates as well. And accordingly, we can facilitate the inward remittance transactions of our customers as well. So here, some benefits for inward remittances, starting with the exchange income which the bank earns, the float income that the bank has for the amounts that are being remitted. Or if you have good competitive pricing on the remittances and customers who are receiving bulk remittances, there is the beauty of, your balances improve. Today, when I talk about, the liability balances, the MDAP carrying the maximum weightage, if I can have such kind of customers who are receiving regular remittances from overseas, or some businesses wherein remittances are coming in from overseas, my MDAP balances, that parameter gets quickly taken care of. Because it's a remittance transaction, the RFR parameter also comes in. Whenever remittance transactions are seen, you will find because of the conversion, the values that come into the account are substantial. And that again builds up the book, builds up my portfolio, and that is something that we would want to make sure happens. So these are customer accounts that we would want to specifically focus on, and customer retention, customer acquisition, cross-sell, all these possibilities available for me when I am having these kind of customer accounts with me. So that is something that we would want to talk about, how branches can benefit from inward remittances, how they can bring in a recurring income, a recurring exchange and RFR income, especially for businesses. So if you have good current accounts which are also having remittances, these can bring in good balances and over time can be a substantial game changer for your portfolios as well. You can earn cross-sell points, prospects for third-party products because of the volumes that are seen in the customer account, balances that come in. You have opportunities for cross-sell. Also, you can source the NRI accounts from where the remittances are coming, the people that who are sending the remittances. So let's say it's family or children out there, you can also source acquisition numbers can be met by sourcing these kind of NRI accounts as well. Remit Money, the platform from which customers from these locations can easily remit money to their accounts in India. So customers who are based in US, UK, Eurozone, Switzerland, Canada, Australia, Singapore, UAE, South Africa can definitely use the Remit Money platform to channel their inward remittances. So the benefits of Remit Money is what we are talking about here. Very, very simple. It's an online system. All you need to do is register your bank account, register the details of the beneficiary account that needs to be created. Once we have those details, it becomes as simple as logging onto the Remit Money platform. Because your bank account is linked to the Remit Money platform, your accounts, your local accounts there would get debited and the amount gets transferred to your Access accounts, beneficiary accounts. Easy in terms of a platform to navigate and use. It is also bringing in a lot of offers. So today, every time I log into the Remit Money platform, I also get multiple offers. It could be a betterment of rate. It could be, a pricing preferential that I enjoy, be it in terms of the beneficiary transactions or for that matter, repeat transaction. So a lot of those offers keep coming your way. And at the same time, like we saw in the other platforms of internet banking outward remittance, I just need to save these details and my subsequent transactions become very, very easy. Because it's an in-house portal of Axis Bank, there are absolutely no charges involved. The customer gets to see the price at which the remittance will happen. The customer gets to track the entire remittance when the account, his overseas account gets debited, when his beneficiary account is getting credited. Today, the customer for every repeat transaction that he gets also by default gets a pricing preferential, or for that matter, let's say if it's a transaction where he's initiating for booking offer, deposit and all that. So by default, these kind of offers not only act as a motivator or an incentive for the customer to do future transactions through the Remit Money portal. So that is what we are saying. Besides, it's a faster process because we don't have any intermediaries in between. We can look at the accounts getting credited very, very quickly. So that is what we are talking about here. 1 hour credit facility for remittances initiated from US, Canada, UK, Euro. Same day credit for transactions initiated from UAE, Singapore, Australia, so on and so forth. So that is something that we would want all our customers to enjoy and use actively, the Remit Money platform. However, irrespective of what is the type of transaction that you would want to do, be it a Forex card issuance or for that matter, a remittance transaction inward or outward, we would want you to get credit for the same. And that happens only if you put the lead entry. And the lead entry has to necessarily happen before the transaction has got executed and processed in the customer account. So you need to put in the lead entry and subsequently close the lead entry with the details of the transaction. And that is what we would want to focus here. Many a times, because we skip or miss out on the lead entry, you do not get credit for the same and you lose out on the credits. So you would want to make sure that it is important to remember that the lead entry becomes extremely imperative for you to meet your business credits as well. So that is what we are highlighting here, the importance of lead entry. In CRM, we also would want to make sure that there is a comparison with respect to the remit money vis-a-vis a wire transfer. And that is the preferential here. The NRI first getting a 20 paisa preferential on the first transaction. And these remit money offers keep getting changed, upgraded from time to time. There are a lot of points that the customer earns for referrals. There are points that the customer earns for repeat transactions. And that is what we are talking about, a 5 paisa preferential by default on your second and third transaction. A 5 paisa preferential if it is a booking of a term deposit. So the money comes into the account and then a deposit is being booked. So depending upon the kind of transactions that you are initiating, there are benefits there as well. And here for wire transfer, if it's a wire transfer, the customer gets a 55 paisa preferential for US transactions, which are getting credited to the NRI accounts. So that was a little bit on Forex cards, inward and outward remittances. Any questions? Shashwati, Shilpa?
None from my side. None from my side.
Shilpa? All right, so I think that takes care of our day 5. Day 6 and 7 are insurance. And subsequently, then we have the next week modules, which are have sessions till Thursday. Okay, 4 more days of inputs. All right. Yeah. So can we close the session for today if there are no further doubts? And do we meet up tomorrow?
Tomorrow I'm not available in the morning.
So day after?
Day after, yeah. Day after is tomorrow is Wednesday, right?
Tomorrow is
Yeah.
Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. 16th I'm available.
What about Shilpa? Shilpa, if you're around, if you can just unmute and speak.
Yeah, I'm available. No problem.
Okay.
Tomorrow, what are you going to cover?
Tomorrow, 8 minute, huh? Monday, we have a session on Access Direct. So Access Direct was what I was planning to cover.
So I can, I mean, I can look up the recordings later. That's good with me. If you want to take the session, you can. I can, take this recordings, go through the recording.
I'm okay, whatever you both decide, just let me know.
Yeah, because Anju was also, she's not keeping well, so that's the reason she's not been joining. But that's what she told me, that she will be, listening through the recordings, and that's what she's been doing the last 2 days. Tomorrow, she said she will be able to join. So I'm not very sure
So-
whether do I keep it tomorrow or do I keep
You
it
can keep
for
it
day
for
after.
tomorrow, Vidya. I can look up the recordings for tomorrow. Not a problem. It's Access Direct that you're going to do, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'll just listen to the recordings. In case I have any doubts, I can reach out to you.
Okay, so then again, tomorrow we'll meet up the same time, and Shashwati, you may go through the recordings.
Yeah, yeah. And if I finish, I have actually a meeting and all that starting at 10 o'clock. So if I finish by say 11 o'clock or so and we're still there, I'll join you then.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
That goes
Yeah.
without saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you. Bye.
Sure.
Okay,
I'll see you
thank you.
tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.